Hey guys, this is Tauna, and today we're going to be talking about my top 10 fun precons. These aren't necessarily going to be the strongest, they're not necessarily going to be, winning too much or anything along those lines. With some upgrades and stuff like that, you could easily bring them up to scratch with other precons. Some of them are going to be rather strong. It's kind of, I just wanted to talk about fun ones, not necessarily the best or anything along those lines. They've got, unique gameplay. They've got some cool mechanics. They've got, something that differs from other stuff, some just interesting precons that I thought you guys might like to be interested in. So the first one we're going to talk about is the Flayarrrs here. Not necessarily, again, a top 10 one in regards to strength. However, it is an incredibly fun precon to play. In fact, any precon that's based around stealing other people's stuff is going to be fun because you're not just playing your own deck, you get to play other people's deck, you get to experience what they've got, you get to check out some stuff. So the captain gets to essentially steal an artifact or creature card from the graveyard after that he's milled, and he's got a lot of ways to be able to mill stuff in his deck. A lot of really cool kind of, horror tribal stuff in here that you don't necessarily need to be horror tribal, but horror tribal helps because the captain makes it so anytime horrors deal damage, they mill people. You're not necessarily going to mill people out, like, get them through their whole 100 cards, but that's not the aim here. The aim is to mill them, steal something good, mill someone, steal something good. Lots of really great ways for you to be able to do that, and the captain kind of is up there in regards to really fun decks that are decently strong as well, but just a fun way to be able to play. We've got the Food and Fellowship one here. So this has got Frodo and Sam as the two face commanders. Now, why have I put this one in here? It's because it's got a very interesting way to play where you're gaining food and then gaining life from that. And then the food and life is going to be able to get you more stuff. You've got ways to be able to, draw more cards with Frodo, Sam there, making it so that you're generating food tokens. You get to crack the food, gain a whole bunch of life. A lot of really interesting stuff. This deck overall just has a lot of interesting stuff, and I just love the idea of playing a deck where you're winning by just eating. You're just shoving this food into your gullet and slowly winning by just getting yourself fatter. And in regards to this, the fat is, getting a whole bunch of life. But either way, there's lots of really interesting ways for you to be able to do this. Lots of ways to be able to make use of the health that you're gaining, and lots of ways of being able to, there's a whole bunch of different, ramp cards in here, Toxic Deluge to be able to board wipe. A lot of I just like the idea of, as I said, eating to defeat people. It's just really fun. Just don't play it like my brother does and take an hour on each of your turns. That's all. That's the one thing that I'll say there. We've got the Veloci-RAMP-tor one. Why is this one here? Because there is nothing more fun and nothing that triggers the happy emotions more than putting a dinosaur down and then you get another dinosaur out. You put another dinosaur down on the next turn, then you get another dinosaur out. You just get to repeatedly put out more dinos, and then you've got dinos for days. All of a sudden you've got, 10 different dinosaurs that are out there, and you're just attacking with them, and then the guy's like, dude, I really wish that I'd draw my board wipe right now. The deck's just obviously built around just the discover mechanic on Pantlaza, but you've also got that other one in here with Waiter, which is here, where it's how to train your dino. You're making your dinosaurs fight each other, and then they get to trigger their enrage effects, and then you get enrage effects off the wazoo, and you're just going to be able to, completely stomp people with these cool enrage effects and everything. The deck's just there because it triggers those happy emotions from putting out big dinos. There's nothing that can nothing that can compare to flooding the board with big dinos. Next, we got the Exit from Exile one. This one's interesting. For a start, it's got a couple Planeswalkers, which you don't really find in many precons, but two Planeswalkers in one precon is really cool. But you've got Feldorn here, who's anytime a card comes in from Exile or a land enters the battlefield from Exile, you get to create some wolves. So you've got a lot of stuff that's just playing from Exile and stuff, but it's not just that. You've also got a whole bunch of different sorceries and enchantments to be able to enable that. It's just some really interesting stuff to be able to enable this. Stuff like Layla as well. So anytime you anytime something gets put into exile from your library or from your graveyard, you get to put +1/+1s on him. So you can build a really big Layla with that, which is really cool. Overall, Feldon just plays well and is fun, and also a relatively strong deck, even for like the staples that are in it that you can use later on. We've got Revenant Recon here. One of the, I would say, almost weaker decks from the current MKM. However, from there, you can also get a whole lot of black staples. But the deck is fun. It's built around, you know, surveilling. So you get to look at the top of the deck, top card of the deck. Do I want to keep this or do I want to put it in the graveyard? And then you get to put them into your graveyard. And then all of a sudden you can bring them back. I just love, like, I think graveyard recursion is just really fun. Obviously, fun is subjectives. I will say that, you know, fun is subjectives. What's fun for me is not necessarily going to be fun for you. But overall, Revenant Recon is just fun because you get to kind of, you know, surveil, build up a big Murko while you're slowly putting stuff in your graveyard, and then just be like, oh yep, I'll bring this back, I'll bring this back, I'll bring this back. It wasn't fun to play against. Trust me, my friend was playing Murko, and we were playing, like, you know, unedited Precons, and he was stomping me. But honestly, the deck is really fun, really interesting, and just I love this. Like, it's a very kind of, you know, interesting mechanic, a reanimator deck. We got the Blame Game one. This is probably, if I was putting it, this would be 1 or 2 up there as like the number 1 or number 2 in regards to the most fun Precons. This one's obviously built around, you know, goading stuff and everything like that. Just chucking something like Baloth in here instantly will make it even better because you're just going to goad even more stuff. Just making your friends fight each other. And then all of a sudden you've got, like, you know, which one is it? The Spectacular Showdown? No, there's one card in here that's like, okay, now that everyone's goaded, you get to take control of everything that's goaded at the end of the turn or something like that. I can't remember exactly what one it is. There's lots of really interesting goading stuff in here, as well as lots of stuff to be able to protect yourself, a lot of stuff to be able to just kill your friends, make your friends choose stuff, and it's also got one of the most fun cards in the game that's ever been added, the Prisoner's Dilemma. Make your friends all decide if they're going to kill each other or, you know, work together, or, you know, lots of really, really cool stuff. Trouble in Pairs as well is pretty fun. Make people skip their extra turns, and then whenever someone, you know, attacks with 2 or more creatures, draw a card, or whenever they draw 2 cards, draw a card, or whenever they cast a second spell, draw a card. Lots of ways to be able to draw extra cards with that, which is something that you don't see all that often. We've got Ahoy Mateys. Now, you're probably wondering, Tauna, why is this one here? Ignore where it says Admiral Brass, and we'll jump down here to Don Andreas. Don Andreas is built around stealing stuff, making it so that it has menace, making it so it does death touch. Just build this. If you're editing it, build it around stealing stuff. There's a lot of stuff in here that's already around stealing stuff. That is more fun than the, like, reanimator theme in here with Admiral Brass, where you're milling your own stuff and then reanimating it. Boring, except for when I said it was really fun in Revenant Recon. Stealing stuff is more fun. So Don Andreas, making it so that that stuff you steal is all of a sudden even better. There's lots of really cool ways to be able to do that. Even something as simple as like an Italian here is going to help. But, you know, it's pirate tribal, so I don't know, put a pirate hat on him or something like that. You know, there's just lots of really interesting ways to be able to steal stuff, and then Don Andreas makes it so that stuff that you steal is all of a sudden bigger, and it's just really fun. Similar to that, party time here, the Commander Burokos is just really interesting and really fun, making it so that people lose life, you create treasures, on each time he attacks based on the number of creatures in your party. So it's built around your party mechanics here. So you've got Burokos and then you've got Folk Hero there. So both of those are going to be, you know, your commander instead. You've got like Black Market Connections, which is a rather fun card. Maskwood what? Okay, I did not know Maskwood Nexus was in this Precon. That is crazy. There's lots of really interesting cards in this, and it's a very interesting, very interesting Precon if you build it around the kind of party mechanic. And the party mechanic isn't one that, you know, is very widespread, but it is a very interesting mechanic for this deck, and this deck plays it really well. You know, there's lots of really interesting ways you can build it up, because you just need, you know, clerics, rogues, warriors, and wizards that are in white black. Lots of those. Even like someone like Shadowheart or something like that, or, you know, go into the Baldur's Gate characters. Minthara, I think, is a cleric. I think she's a cleric. Yeah, I think so. You know, there's lots of really interesting ways to be able to build it, and lots of interesting ways to kind of make use of this, you know, the treasures and everything along those lines. It's a very, very fun mechanic, and very unique as well in white black. Like, instead of going to, you know, aristocrats, instead of going, you know, life gain or anything along those lines, going into the party mechanic is very, very interesting. We've got the Ruinous Powers deck here. Now, this one's not... They kind of pulled it in two different directions. Like, it's partial Spellslinger, then partial, like, demons and stuff like that. If you focus, I think, personally, on Abaddon and going into the cards, the, like, you know, Spellslinger and Cascade. Cascade is just a fun mechanic, in my opinion. But this is a very interesting way for a Cascade to work. It's based off of the amount of life your opponents have lost this turn. So yeah, it's a very interesting mechanic, in my opinion. Some really cool cards in here, like the Exalted Flayarrrs Zeech is very cool. You've got like Magnus, which is awesome. And then you've got, where is he? Khan the Betrayer is just a really fun card. Whenever he attacks each combat, if possible, and when you lose control of him, you get to draw 2 cards. But if he takes damage, you prevent the damage, and instead an opponent of your choice gains control of him. So he's just going to be bouncing around the board. Everyone gets to have fun with him. Hopefully you can goad him somehow, something like that, potentially, so he's not attacking you. But either way, there's lots of really cool ways to be able to make use of him. You've got Be'lakor as a secondary commander in here, which is a very fun card as well, with demons. But as I said, mostly focusing around the Cascade is very fun. Adding in, you know, some more sorceries or instants is good. But even then, it says spells you cast from your hand, so even your creatures are going to have Cascade and stuff. So, you know, it's a very interesting deck because it's built around attack first, or, you know, attack first and then cast your spells from there. And then the final one here is going to be Silverquill Statement. Now, this deck is very kind of pulled in a whole bunch of different directions. Altogether, the deck is needing some love in regards to upgrades and stuff, but it is an interesting deck because it's all about like politics and stuff. So like even your face commander here, whenever a player attacks one of your opponents, if that opponent has more life than the other opponents, that attacking player draws a card and you get to put 2 +1/+1s. So it gives people like this kind of, you know, prisoner's dilemma. Who will break first? Do they attack their friends who has the most life, and therefore they get to draw a card and you get 2 +1/+1s, or do they need to not do that so that way you don't do that? And then they're all like sitting across the table from each other being like, if you attack me because I have the most life, I will attack you and I will destroy you. And meanwhile, the Brina player is just sitting there like, yes, fight each other. Do it, peasants. There's lots of different ways for this to be able to work. I don't think it worked as well for this same kind of theme as the Blame Game one, but it's a kind of different kind of version of it because you're not directly kind of goading things as much as you're kind of encouraging everyone lightly to be like, would you like to kill your friend, please? Just take them out back. And there's lots of cool ways to be able to do that. Lots of very interesting ways that this deck kind of works and stuff along those lines. I just like it. I think it's a very, very interesting mechanic. So, you know, those are our top 10 here. So we've got Mind Flayarrrs, Food and Fellowship, Veloci-RAMP-tor, we've got Exile from Exile, Revenant Recon, Blame Game, Ahoy Mateys, we've got Party Time, Ruinous Powers, and then finally Silverquill. As I said at the start, these are not necessarily the strongest decks, but they are, in my opinion, 10 of the most fun precons that have been released. Make sure you subscribe. We're going to get into Fallout like reveals very soon. We've just hit 1,000 subscribers, so thank you so much for everyone who's done that. I hope you guys had a wonderful day, and goodbye.